And we're back with Julie Stubler during the People Chronicles. And we learned about your mentors, Julie, and the motivation that you've had to start your own business and the great creativity that you have used from the folks that helped you every step of the way. But what I need to know is, and I hear a lot of this during my everyday life, the negativity, and there's a lot of it out there. So as a female, a mother, a wife, and a woman who owns her own business, how do you stay away from the negativity?
Well, raising the kids, there was a point where I had to stay at home. And it was the year that Oprah had on her John Gray workshops.
I like her. Oprah.
And it was amazing because it came on at a time where I was getting ready for dinner, and I would just kind of listen. And one of the things that she would say that I thought sounded ridiculous was, other people's opinions about you are none of your business. Well, when somebody has an opinion about you, you have an opinion back. And I found that I had to embrace that, and I really listened to that. Well, when I had an opportunity to leave teaching, I'd been asked to start a skincare operation within a very affluent salon spa in Berks County. And I worked in a salon back in the 80s. I was a cosmetologist. I had no business doing hair. I did one haircut. Whether you were a kid, whether you were a man or a woman, it was the mullet, and I thought it looked great on everyone. So I didn't have much people skills or anything like that. But having the opportunity to practice my new passion of skincare, that little voice said, do it, go for it. And I resigned from teaching, and I moved into this salon spa, and it was among a different class of people. It was among fish that I never swam around before. And that was intimidating for me because, when you see how other people live, you make a predetermined judgment on that. So I was a little reserved. Well, what I wasn't expecting was that the staff didn't like me. And I didn't realize that for a year and a half. I didn't know, because I was so passionate about building this business, and it was just me. So I greeted the client, performed a service on the client, cleaned up after the client. I was so busy, and I loved it. And Jackie, it was the first time in my life I was making money, and I was so proud of it that I would literally take my paycheck into the bank, and I'd look, kind of make eye contact with the teller and just say, that's going in the checking account. I was so proud of myself, and I was so happy. My husband and I had a vision of moving out of the townhouse we lived in into a home. And that was new for me. A home, where you have property to take care of, and you have your own home with nobody neighboring next to you and on top of you like I was always used to. And I was so focused on that, and my husband was so focused on that mattered. That made me wake up in the morning to want more for my children. Well, one night I was cleaning up at the spa, cleaning up the room, making sure everything was unplugged, and I went downstairs. And when I got downstairs, all the women, and there was a group of stylists and nail technicians and the manager and such, we all walked out together. And they were all putting on makeup. So I looked at the one girl who was one of my students, and I looked at her, I go, oh, are you going out tonight? And she looked at me like with deer in headlights. And 3 of the other girls said, yeah, and you can't go. And I didn't even flinch. It didn't even upset me. And that was pretty powerful, because the Julie from back in the day, they would have probably got held by their necks and their heads knocked together, because I didn't play. But I felt bad for them, because you don't want to know me? I am so cool. I looked at that girl and I said, no, I don't, have a good time tonight. And she reluctantly but felt obligated to ask me, do you want to come along? And the manager stomped her foot and said, absolutely not. And you know what? Do you know what came over me? Or my kids? Because when I got home at 7:30, they were in pull-ups. You know that sound, that little squishy sound?
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that sound. And when I walked in the house every night, it was, you know, I would read them this little book. And I felt so happy. I was so fulfilled with that. So I can't believe that those girls think that I would ever trade off that moment. I felt bad for them. But then I realized they didn't like me. And I worked there a year and a half before I realized that. And I was so proud of myself because I could have cared less. I was making money. I had a career. People were making appointments with me. Affluent people in this city knew my name. I was so proud of myself. My friends were so proud of me. My family was so proud of me. And you don't like me? For what? What did I ever do to you? And I realized that there's one person that influenced those girls not to like me. And I confronted her. I confronted her on my own time to ask her, what did I ever do to you? And she couldn't answer me. And I was so kind of distraught over this that I actually went and got a book, and it was called Mean Girls. And it's basically a woman who studied mean girls in the workplace, mean girls at school, the philosophy of this. And what I stumbled across was, when the leader shows you her characteristics, when she invites you to be in her club and you ignore the invitation and you declined that, you just showed her that you think you're better. And I recalled the moment she did that to me. She called me over to make fun of a client because a client had on sneakers. And she thought that was hilarious. Well, that woman looked like my mom, and my mom would do that at the end of the day, wear sneakers to walk to her car. And I think I looked at her in shock because I didn't get the punchline.
Mm-hmm.
And when she started laughing, the client heard her and she hid. And I looked at her and I go, what are you doing? And I think she took it as I was better than, or I was demeaning her. So that made me understand characteristic traits to identify in groups of people. Who's the alpha female? You know, who's the boss applesauce? So I can, instead of doing that I can absolutely be on the same page with her. So that was humbling to me, that a group of people absolutely just did not like me at all.
And now you have a chance to leave and start your own,
Mm-hmm.
which was, did you just say, bye-bye, I'll see you later?
Well, you know, opportunities knock. And I think what I've learned about people in general is some of us say, I'm going for it, but some of us say, I don't want to. And I was the person that when that opportunity for me to leave there, the first instinct I had was no, but the inner voice said, go for it. So I had taken many opportunities. And when I had an opportunity to start my own independent practice, it was time. My children were older, and kind of stepping away from your children is a huge undertaking, and it was time to do that. And I was so excited to have an opportunity to meet a partner that respected what I did and wanted to work with me at a capacity to see the vision that I had for the practice that I was trying to build. I think that's when you realize, too, that another professional acknowledges what you do. And how empowering is that? For somebody that's a physician, you know, top of their class, extremely intelligent, well-respected, thinks you're the bomb.com. So, you know, that's a wonderful partnering. So that's where we're at now, is we really looked at the concept of what we want to build, what I want to offer, what is my niche that I want to bring, you know, to my practice. That way, I'm not trying to compete with anyone else that does what I do. And in fact, a lot of the women are former students of mine, but that I offer something unique to everyone.
And where is it located?
Sinking Spring. So along Penn Avenue, where Penn Avenue splits at the Township Building, I'm in the lower level of Dr. Campanella and Pira's Eye Associates, that big building that sits there. It's kind of, a lot of times people don't realize it's there, but I love the location because it's close to home for me. And it seems that along that Penn Avenue route, you know, everyone knows Penn Avenue in Berks County.
Sure.
So I like that.
And is there a website?
Our website is jsmedspa.com, and most people contact me through my Facebook. And that social media has been very powerful for me. And I just recently started a Facebook page, which is JS Med Spa. But most of my peers and people that I grew up with are the ones that have really identified me as their skincare specialist, and I love Facebook for that I've been able to reconnect and stay connected to people. And that's really how I built my practice, is through the Facebook pages.
It's a good thing. Social media, it's all over the place.
Well,
so.
It can be very proactive. I know some people think otherwise, but the ability to do fundraisers and class reunions and parties, events, surprise parties, and building a business through that, you know, I found it to be a very powerful thing for me.
All right, Julie Stubler joining us today. What a great story you have. Many great lessons learned in that today. So I want to thank you so very much. Look for Julie, social media network all over the place on Penn Avenue. The exact address, though, Julie?
3855 Penn Avenue, Sinking Spring, 19608.
All right, thank you. I'm Jackie Hoffman, and these are the People Chronicles.